I'm here with Dave Rubin. Hi, Dave. How are you? We're talking about the origins of funk yet one more time because we've learned something about the origins of funk. And what it is Phil Upchurch. He predates James Brown, so that puts a kink in our funk origins tree. Well, we kind of alluded to that in our other video. But okay, so what did you find? You found the swivel. They mailed it.
I
You
got
you
to,
went.
since we talked last, Rod, I did get the CD, a great CD because it's got a lot of Phil Upchurch on there I never heard before. I think an argument could even be made. You can definitely hear a resemblance of the swivel to I Got You, I Feel Good.
Mm-hmm.
So the question, you posed it already. Did James Brown actually hear that and be influenced by it? My guess, just a guess, is that no, not exactly like that. I think that it's possible that he heard that among hearing a whole lot of other music. I'm sure he knew Phil Upchurch. I'm sure Upchurch knew him. I'm sure they went in some of the same circles.
Mm-hmm.
And Upchurch was literally cranking out these instrumentals, dance instrumentals, in the early '60s, late '50s too. If you think he can't sit down being like the big one,
Mm-hmm.
he was cranking these out. And to my now, I had never heard this song before, and I heard a lot of. I'm nothing of instrumental, a fan of instrumental music and play instrumental music. So I know a lot. I grew up with a lot of it. Going back to we're talking about people like Dwayne Eddy and the Ventures for sure, and Johnny and the Hurricanes, and these people, because I don't sing, so I just play. So I've always gone to instrumentals. So
Mm-hmm.
I've heard a lot of Phil Upchurch. I never heard this song before,
Yes.
and the bass riff in it, the main riff in it, does sound like it could be. He could have heard this, or maybe
Right.
maybe tangentially Jeff Brown heard it. Maybe he heard it on a jukebox one time and it stuck in the back of his head.
Right.
This is all theory. I
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
think he felt he was copying it.
Well,
I think
yeah.
it somehow got in his consciousness. I think it's possible. Now, you say there's another theory that it's just parallel
Yeah.
universes here
There's a
happening.
theory in history that called parallel development,
Yeah, okay.
which is two people are developing the same thing, and the two people may or may not are responding to the same stimuli. In other words, in our case, the same dance moves.
Right.
The same cultures are going in and out of both of their lives, and they're creating music, not knowing about the other person. Like it's very conceivable to me that they might not have known each other, and at this point they might not have even heard each other because James Brown wasn't the world name that he would later become.
No, and Upchurch was already established, actually. I
Right,
mean,
right.
Brown was
Yes.
recording in the '50s with his R&B
Yes.
and stuff, but you're right. He hadn't become James Brown yet.
Right. Yeah, so it's like the parallel development idea is like, okay, so you have it's not really copying history, kind of moving together. These people are moving what is happening in the cities, in the dance culture, in the communities. Uh, Probably the more likely um, idea is like the Afro-Cuban influence on American dance of the late 50s, and how Latin America, what they did is they straightened out the eighth note already in the early 50s, but the Afro-Cuban version of that and various different ones, Puerto Rican, and all those kinds of dance moves, they were probably in. That was both of their playground.
Yeah.
So they're going
Right.
to create music that goes along with the dance. So I think that might be as plausible as anything. Like the rhythm is kind of um, rhythm is like evolving. It is not In other words, we're leaving swing. We're leaving swing behind. And that's the big thing about, first off, like the Latin America stuff, like early 50s and stuff, like the bossa novas, the bayonne and all that kind of stuff. That straightened out the eighth note, but it took on a different sound when it's like uh, Cuba and Puerto Rico and those cultures and the dance moves and the celebratory nature of their parties and all that kind of stuff. That's probably where I'm guessing they both came to the same conclusions. That to me is more plausible than I don't know. Does James Brown? He never mentions Phil.
No, you make a very good point, and that's really important for your followers to know that even know that word Afro-Cuban uh, as a style of music. There's a whole world there, and
Right.
you know, my 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 current obsession again, Charlie Parker went
Right.
through a whole thing with that, so
Right.
you know that. But
And
here's one thing I
and
think,
Dizzy.
yeah, and Dizzy too,
Right.
all the bebop guys. Uh, here's something though that is undeniable. How it got there, we don't know. Here's undeniable. Swivel is almost 4 years before I got you.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
That's undeniable.
Right. These are the
How it
facts.
how it got, that's a fact.
Yes.
How it got there, and whether James Brown heard it tangentially, subconsciously, or just is that
We're not at all.
parallel development you're talking about, we don't know that part. But what we do know is that comes before, and it's worth being aware of it. If
Right.
you're
Right.
a student, I want to know about funk music. Where does this come? Because I still think that when you hear Out of Sight, which truly is it, I mean, the swivel is one thing, and you hear some things in there say, that
Well,
rhythm, that bass.
Swivel kind of reminds me, honestly, it kind of reminds me. It has one foot away from jump blues too, though. It has some of the jump
Yes.
blues sound.
Yeah, sure.
So it is
I
more.
agree.
It is more. It is more of that. Out of sight is not that.
But Out of Sight is definitely
Yeah. Yeah.
I
They
mean, Out of
take the
Sight
same
is
instrument,
landmark.
same instrumentation, but
Yeah.
I don't get the feeling that everybody's a drummer in Bill Upchurch's
No,
backup band. You know what I
no,
mean?
that's right. Good point.
So I also looked up Boogaloo. Because we were
Okay.
mentioning Boogaloo in
Yes,
the last
yes,
interview or talk,
right,
and Boogaloo's that's after James Brown. James Brown was an inspirer of Boogaloo. It's not the only thing.
right.
Again, it is, and probably it's the same cultures that that created Out of Sight and the Swivel created Boogaloo. So the 1965 Tom and Jerry-O, that was like the first Boogaloo hit. So that's a year after Papa's Got a Brand New Bag and I Feel Good.
Right. Right.
So Boogaloo did not inspire funk, at least in the funk
More
came
like the
like
other way
the
around.
old James
Yeah,
Brown funk came first,
yeah,
and Boogaloo
yeah,
took it and then it did other things with it.
yeah.
Again, it's probably the same dance culture that they're all related. It's all the same culture that is probably the um that they're all related in that way. Um, it's like kind of a specific dance identity, like an approach to rhythm. Um, it's all really cool. It's like it's in, and I'm kind of interested in it because nobody ever explained to me what Boogaloo was. Then you go start listening to it, and it sounds kind of like funk,
Yeah,
but it does some different stuff. It's got some Afro-Cuban isms in it, but
right.
it came later, so that we know. So
Well,
so anyway, we now have access, and I want to spread this. I want this swivel to be widely disseminated because it shouldn't be that hard to find.
it
It
should
should not have been. You
well,
should not have had to order it from Europe.
Well, surprisingly enough, a few days after I received that, somebody must have had the same idea, and they posted the whole swivel on
Okay.
YouTube, which had not been there when we spoke last. Only a snippet was somewhere else. So I
Yes.
could at least hear it enough to say, oh, I got to pursue this. Like, let me get this CD.
Right.
That is it. But somebody already posted, so it's on. Your followers can find
Yeah,
it on
yeah.
YouTube.
Well,
It's there.
the other thing is I'm going to post it as well.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
going to
Put it
post it
on.
as
Yeah.
well. And if Phil Upchurch doesn't get the, I don't know what the copyright law is. I don't own the copyright, but
Well, YouTube. I mean,
right,
you put a
exactly.
little
In other words,
disclaimer.
it deserves to be heard, is what I'm saying.
Yes, he does.
It's a part of history.
Even though he's no longer with us, unfortunately. But
Yes.
yeah, yeah.
So we'll
Yeah.
say Swivel came first. That we know. James Brown influence, we don't know.
We don't know.
More likely, the culture that created both of them are the main influence. The Afro-Cuban influence on in American music, and
I think that's
and also like the instrumentation of like the big band swing, but also jump blues, that kind of thing. Like you had the Louis Jordan, who was not just he was a band leader and an entertainer, like James Brown is.
right.
Okay, James Brown was also a drummer, and he also played piano or keyboard.
Yeah.
He did, but his main instrument was his voice and his entertainment. Right. So there's earlier stuff like jump blues as far as the instrumentation, smaller horn sections, okay, and a rhythm section, but jump blues was swingy,
right.
Had the shuffle, the swung eighth note. That was still
Sure.
a very big step in swing music. So anyway, I think we cleared some things up here. So until next time, we're going to talk about more stuff. We're going to nail down more historical stuff and more understanding. And I enjoy this. Thank you, Dave Rubin.
My pleasure, Rod, as always.
All right, so what we're going to do today is we're going to analyze the Swivel by Phil Upchurch, the debate with the James Brown versus Phil Upchurch. Where did funk begin? Well, Phil Upchurch was first. We're going to check out some of his chord changes, some of his guitar licks, some of the arranging that is in the Swivel. Okay, so a lot of his melodic stuff is just in unison with the horns. And a lot of his chords are kind of buried in the mix. So some of his chord like forms, I'm left to wonder, because I don't know exactly, because he has since passed us, so I can't ask him. So, and I don't know that he remembers from 1961. So anyway, with that said, thing about form, the Swivel is taking from earlier precedent, like an earlier precedence, which when I say that, like a jump blues, it took like the form of jump blues and swing, which is a blues form. Okay, so that is some of what they stole from or borrowed from the jump blues guys. It is a blues in A flat. With that said, the one chord would be an A flat chord, A flat. Probably not an A flat 7. It sounds more like a 9, but like it does not sound like the T-Bone Walker 9. Though it could be. Doesn't sound horrible. It sounds like this is a 9th chord that I learned from Joe Pass. You could also just take the root out of that, and this is super useful. That's plausible. Now, if you know anything about the blues and blues form, blues in its rawest form is only 3 chords. And this song is no exception. You have your 1 chord, which is your A flat 7 or A flat 9, or this, or you could do the T-bone, and then you go to the 4 chord. The 4 chord is going to be D flat 9, or this, which would be that would be more of a James Brown kind of sound. This is more swing. Later, James Brown would be like that. All right. So with that said, that's your 4 chord, and then your 5 chord is going to be E flat 9. All right. So now that is your form. So now with that said, in the comments, I'm posting links to both the blog that we have and also the transcription lesson of this. Okay. So you can find the transcription lesson to this and also you can find it in the description of this video. So with that said, okay, so there's your 1, 4, 5. Now, the easiest version to strum that, if you're not used to that kind of bang, I'm gonna turn the bass off. Just now what we could do instead of that, go through the whole form with that strumming pattern. What we could do instead of that is have a so it's kind of a the Afro-Cuban influence or even Latin American influence, like in the 50s, the Latin American kind of Latin musical approaches of straightening out the 8th note, and that was real common. This is kind of comes from that kind of sound musical heritage. So that could be an alternate strumming. Now, I could use this chord again. All right. What I could also use is a 13 chord. It doesn't sound as good or it doesn't sound as accurate to the recording, but it's still an available chord color. So now in addition to just the chord shapes and chord changes, what we have is a bassline melody. So, which is kind of unison to the horn. So that would be something like this. So that's over the 1 chord. Notice that when I play that, I'm accenting the downbeat, the 1. And then when it goes to the 4 chord, you can play the same exact pattern. Okay? And then it goes back to the 1. And then it does a melody that is in unison with the horns. That is over the 5 chord. That's the 5th of E flat. that is the melody that's in unison. So it's going to be something like. Another nuance with dominant 9s and dominant 7s, I'm taking a few liberties here. That is a very cool and hip and period specific little ornamentation. We can approach that chord by a half step, and it sounds really cool and really appropriate. That he doesn't do that, but that's something else. So anyway, so all right. Now we have a B section in this song. The B section is over the it's a stop time section. So okay. And the melody is going to go. Okay, I'm going to try that again. So that is in unison with all the horns. So that's kind of cool. All right, and then it goes. All right, so that is what we have now. In the PDF that I have the basic strumming eighth note pattern for you to check out, and the chord voicings, your A flat, your D flat 9, and your E flat 9, and you can go through the chord changes, and also then there's the solo-y part, and then in the solo-y part, it's like early 60s solo-y part. It's kind of like awkward minor pentatonic blues scale. It was kind of popular then. It was like it sounds like they're just playing like blues licks over top of like really heavy, leaning really heavy into the blues scale. So early some 60s jazz that was real popular at the time. It's like Kenny Burrell's Midnight Blue, for example, if you had checked that album. So anyway, this is Rod. I want to thank Dave Rubin for helping me out with this. And bringing this to my attention, and we sorted out the history of all this, and without his help and our discussions, none of this would have been possible. So I appreciate it, Dave, and I look forward to doing many more things, uncovering different historical things in guitar history and music history. All right, until next time. Hi, this is Rod from Boomer Guitar Sessions. I personally wanted to thank you for being part of our community. If you like what we're doing here and you want to see more of it, please hit the like, subscribe, and share. And this helps me spread my musical messages to all over the world. Thank you. I appreciate you. And always remember, you can do